Hi everyone, it's Stephanie back with another spinning tutorial. Today I am going to be showing you how to make Rolags on my Fancy Kitty blending board. Now I have another video about making Rolags, but it was shot upstairs. My husband was filming and my daughter was in it, and I've heard that the audio quality is not the best. So what I wanted to do is just reshoot that, and hopefully this one is a little bit easier to understand. So what I've got here to make Rolags with is my blending board. It is by Fancy Kitty, and I really love it. It's got, you can see it's got just the cloth stapled on here. I've had this for several years and none of the staples have come loose. It's really nicely made. On the back it has this little thing where you can have the blending board set up at an angle like this, or you can take that back stand off and have it laying flat. I like it at an angle. Then you're going to need this brush because you're going to comb the fibers down like this, and this one comes with the blending board from Fancy Kitty. You're going to need 2 dowels or knitting needles or chopsticks, something that you can help take the Rolags off with. And finally, I also use just an acrylic paintbrush, and that is if you are using some fiber with smaller staple length, like this little bit of silk lap, you can just push it gently into the blending board with your paintbrush. Okay, then last but not least, the fun part, the fiber. What I have today and what I'll be working with is this white merino. I have, oh, this one's wonderful, black alpaca. Isn't that beautiful? So soft. Then I have some gray waste from Sari Silks. This is what's left over in the machines when they're making silk for saris, and it's recycled and we use it. It is great to add texture to your Rolags and other spinning projects. And then for a pop of color, I love this pink. And this is silk lap, and look how, see, very short staple length. So what I like to do is just sort of dot it through. It adds a nice little pop of color. And as you see, as usual, I am sticking with my pretty neutral palette. I promise I will break out of that relatively soon. Oh, and last thing, I just bought this yesterday at the Woolery when I got my picker. It is mulberry silk noir, and I really love this. I've used it in felting, and so what I might do is just add a little bit of this into our Rolags. We'll see. If I need the texture, I'll add it. If not, I won't. Okay, so now I'm going to be sitting down, and hopefully the top of my head will not interfere in what we're doing. What I'm going to try to do is I'd like to have, I don't want the black on top of the white. Instead, I want like white over here and then gradually turning to black over here. So I am going to start actually with the black on this side. And what you do, you find the end of your fiber, pull off a bit, just like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to gently, almost like you are using hand cards, you're going to lay it down on your blending board. Let me scoot this down to make sure it's in the shot at the top. Do you see how I have a little bit of fiber going over the blending board? You want that. So then you're just going to hold down here, and you're going to just draft, back up here, you're going to draft along until you get to the bottom, and then you're going to pull it out. So I'm going to do that again, slightly overlapping the drafting, sort of like this. And it's okay, you can see bare spots in here. Like right here I don't have a lot, up here I don't have a lot. We're going to make another pass with this. So I'm going to lay down some more black right here in the middle, because right in the middle is where I want it to sort of fade to a little bit of gray, and we will be putting the white merino over top of this black. So that's about half of the board filled with the black. Now I'm going to move on to the white merino. Same thing, pull out a little bit of fiber, and I'm going to start here and overlap. I'm only overlapping here because I want, when I'm spinning, this middle part to be slightly gray, okay? And so what happens when you combine white and black? You get gray. So then I will work on over here, doing the same thing, drafting out the fiber, making sure some has overlapped the edge of the carding cloth, both on the top and the bottom. I have a little bit of extra, or a little bit of thickness here. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. So then I'm going to go over here, and I didn't get it quite to the edge, so one more pass here. Okay. Now, this is our first layer. You're going to build up the layers as you're working, sort of like you would if you were working on a drum carder. Now you're going to take your brush, and you don't have to use the brush that comes with your blending board. You could use a slicker brush that you would use on your dog if they have a longer coat. You're just going to brush this down, and you see it goes from the top of your board down to the bottom. And we can fill up all of this space with fiber. And now you'll notice I am brushing from top to bottom. I'm not going side to side. I'm not going up and down, and I'm not this way one time and this way the next time. Same direction. So now I'm going to just repeat what I did because I'm building up the layers. Okay, and I'm going a little faster this time. I'm going to follow the same pattern right here, and you'll see that we're getting I have a little bit of bare spots here, so I'm going to go back and add some right here, and that's okay. I'm going to cover the bare spots. This alpaca, I'm telling you all, it is heavenly. So that's enough for the black. Now I'm going to go back with my white over top of this center spot, because remember we want it to be gray through here, and a little bit more. What happens when you get to the shorter amount of fiber left is you've got to make sure you're holding it at the very end so that you can draft out, so that you're holding it here and not here. If I'm holding it here in the middle, look, I can't draft the fibers out, okay? So that's good. I will make sure I use all of it here and put this little bit that's left over this bare spot. I need a little bit more white, so I'm going to pull this out and got a little bit of white left there. Now what I could have done is put all of the embellishments, the silk sari waist, the silk noir, and the mulberry silk. I could have put that on the very top, and then when I took the Rolags off, then we would see all of the embellishments. But I didn't want to do that this time because as I'm spinning it, I like to have fiber surrounding everything so that the smaller staple lengths still stay in the yarn, and they are, well, it improves the integrity of the yarn so that it's not falling apart. So again, we're going to take our brush. We are going to brush everything down. You can do more than one pass if you need to. There we go. Now you see there are fewer bare spots. But now I am going to add a little bit of color. And this, I'm not taking off a whole lot because I don't want it to be pink everywhere. I just want little bits of color here and there. And you see I'm being really random about this. There's really no pattern to it. Oops, that's too much. And you can, if I decide that maybe I have too much, like right here, I'm gonna take some off, okay? Because I don't want it to be a whole lot. I just want enough to make it kind of fun. And this is too blank for me right here, so I'm gonna put a little bit more there and there. See, it's playing with it, seeing how it feels. Now for this, I am not going to use the slicker brush because the fiber is so wispy and the staple length is so small that it would just get completely caught. So instead, I'm just going to very gently take my paintbrush and just push it down, just gently pushing it down, okay? Then I am also, this is where I'm going to take some of this silk sari waste, and sometimes you might want to cut a little bit of this with scissors if it's too long. I like to just sort of put it on here and then it'll break when it needs to. But you know me, I don't follow a very technical way of spinning. So if I need scissors, I'll get scissors. But if I don't, then I'd rather not use them. I like things that are much more organic, much more just, they feel like they are naturally meant to be there. Okay, so there we go. Maybe a little bit right here. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my handy paintbrush. And this is, I think this is just a $3 paintbrush. And I'm going to just gently put everything down here. And now what I'm going to do is go back to the fiber. So I'm creating a sandwich. I love creating these sandwiches either in using my drum carder or using my blending board, because I feel like it helps the smaller staple lengths, the more delicate fibers. I feel like it helps them not get lost in what I'm doing, so that when I get to them, they are a much more of a part of the yarn than they would be if I was just letting them be on top. Okay. So then I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull out some more of the merino. And remember, we're wanting this part to be gray, so I will overlap here. And you'll see that the board is filling up with fiber, so that's why we are seeing more of it on the top here. We're almost finished. Okay. Take the comb again, gently brush it down. Okay. And you'll see this is getting more and more gray, which I like. Except we do have a black streak right there, so I want to cover that. And as we spin, it will be more obvious. I'm probably not going to spin this up on this video. I want to make a couple of Rolags, and then I will spin them all at once so you can get an idea of what the yarn will look like, because I'm curious to see too. I love spinning alpaca. It's one of my favorite fibers to spin. And I love this combination of alpaca and merino with the little hints of color. Now what I did there is I felt like it was too white, so I just added some black. And I am going to go back and build up these sections just a little more. I don't like real thin and sickly kind of looking Rolags. I like it to be thick and full of fiber. Because spinning with Rolags, it's one of my favorite ways to spin. I feel like this fiber preparation, whether you're using hand cards to make Rolags or whether you're using a drum carder, I feel like this fiber prep lends itself to fast spinning, and I like to finish things quickly because I only have a limited amount of time in which to do my fiber stuff. probably like the rest of you. Excuse the coughing in the background. One of my kiddos has allergies, and the weather here has been absolutely crazy. It's been warm one day and really cold the next, and every year the poor guy goes through this. So then after this, I'm going to brush down this layer, add a little bit more of my embellishments through here, and then we will take it off. We'll take the Rolags off of the board. A little more fiber to finish it up. Okay, let's brush it down. Now, do you see how you're not seeing any of the carding cloth through the teeth? Now everything is covered. So let's go in, add a little bit more pops of color. Okay, add some more sari waist here, sari silk, which I love. Love, love, love this stuff. I love the sari ribbons. I'm sure you've seen them. I make hand-bound books and journals, and I add as many ribbons to them as I can because I love the color. I love the distressed nature of the ribbons. It's just beautiful to me. Okay, so let's use the paintbrush. Gently nudge everything down. Okay, whoops, got a little bit right there. Add that here. Okay, and I think I am going to try some of this mulberry noir, more mulberry silk noir. Now it's really short too, but that's okay. We're going to treat it just the same way that we did the pink. We're going to just put it in through here and add a little more. You know, I like texture in the yarn. And do you see how in this yarn the texture is probably going to be one of the main focal points, and though I do have this bright pop of pink through here, do you see how I've kept everything else relatively muted, white and black and gray? That's so that this pink and the texture that I'm adding in will stand out. Remember, I look at color, texture, and technique when I'm doing an art yarn. Whichever one of those, color, texture, or technique, that I choose to emphasize in a particular project, I am going to purposely de-emphasize the other two. So in this one, again, it's texture with all these different fibers and maybe a little bit of technique. I'm not sure yet. But I'm going to then play down the color and possibly play down the technique, okay? So I've got everything in here. I think I'm going to put one tiny last layer, very, very thin, just to sort of sandwich the embellishments in here so that they stay nicely secured. Oops. A little bit there. And you don't have to go from top to bottom on this when you're adding in your fiber. You could say, oh, I need a little bit here, and just add some here, then jump over to here and say I need some there. So it doesn't have to be done the same way each time. Too much there. So see, I just take that off, okay? So now I'll add a tiny bit of white, and I'm adding just this small amount. I don't want to overtake the fiber or the embellishments. I just want to make sure that they stay where I have put them and that they don't fall out while I am making the Rolags. Okay, so instead of using this comb, I'm going to use the paintbrush again because I have such a thin layer of fiber. So I'm just going to go through, gently press it down. Okay. And here's what we have. Oops, sorry about that. So now you'll see I've got all of this fiber hanging off of the edge here, and I've got some also, let me see if I can get you to the top here, on the top of the blending board. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my dowels. I'm going to put one underneath all of this fiber, okay, and one over top of all of the fiber. I'm putting them side by side, not top and bottom, side by side like this, and I'm going to just start rolling, okay? There, so I've got a little off, and as I roll, I'm going to draft. Roll and draft. So you'll lift up a little bit so that the fiber can be drafted. Roll on, draft off. And I'll probably get about 3 Rolags out of this. Roll on. Sound like the Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. Roll on, and then off. Okay, so here is our first Rolag. To remove it, we're going to push out one of the dowels and then remove the other one. And we have this lovely, nice, neat Rolag that's ready to spin. All you do is start drafting and spin from that end. So now we're going to remove the other fiber. Again, just lift up here. Make sure one dowel is underneath the fiber. Put the other one beside it. Sort of trap the fiber in between and then start rolling. So then we're going to lift up a little bit and draft, okay? And then we're going to roll that drafted fiber on. And this drafting also helps make the spinning process smoother. Because think about it, your fiber, it has been drafted several times already, so it doesn't get caught and stuck together. It makes for a really nice, easy spin when you're working with Rolags. So here's our second one. So remember, take out one dowel, set it aside, this one, and now look, we've got a second one. And if you'll see right here, I've got a little bit more of a fiber build up here. That's because on here I probably put a little bit more in that space, but that's fine, it doesn't matter. See, so far we've got these two. Aren't they lovely? And we have just enough fiber for one more Rolag. And what I sometimes do, which I didn't do this time, but sometimes I will deliberately put more fiber, or make sure I am deliberate in putting more fiber at the top, because that's where I tend to not put as much fiber. Okay, and if before I get started, if you can see right here, there's a tiny bit of fiber stuck on the bottom of the board. So I'm going to take this flicker and I'm going to not brush it, but hold it the same way, but go this way and push in and kind of flick up. And now I've got the fiber that was trapped under there. Okay. So now we're going to, for the last time, put the dowel under, the dowel over. We're going to roll, and we are going to draft. And sometimes the drafting is hard. You've got to use a little bit of muscle here. Okay, and we are almost finished here. Give one last nice draft. And there we go. And sometimes at the end you'll see we've got this bit that's not smooth, so I'll just do this and smooth it in, just because it looks nicer. So we're going to remove this dowel And then remove this one. And now we have got 3 beautiful Rolags that we can start spinning from right away. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please drop a comment below and like and subscribe. Also, if you have a blending board, please let me know what you use it for. So thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Stephanie. Bye-bye.